Thank you, thank you. That's, who's screaming? Sit down, it's embarrassing. How are you, everybody? I can hardly make you out in the dark. So, here I am in Chicago. That's the longest walk I've had in 2 days.
I'm gonna get in line, I guess.
Hi, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm here. Oh!
I guess.
So, you know, when you start these little talks, you wonder how to start it. And I'm trying to think of something in a city that I've been that had some drama to it. So I've got a really fun story for you to remind me of the last time I was in Chicago. So it might have been Reed Pop. It might have been it was an event of some kind near Chicago. And I'm signing autographs. And a guy comes up to me and he says, I'm from a company called American Wrench down 15 miles south of Chicago. And we build motorcycles. We'd like to build you a motorcycle. Okay. Yeah, we'll build you a motorcycle and we'll design a motorcycle. I said, okay. Now, I'm slowly coming to the opinion that the universe takes care of us all, but it's specifically in my case, things happen. I don't know why they happen. I mean, like, go to a restaurant, somebody pulls out, and you can park right at the restaurant. I've got parking karma. And I have this thing that happens to me. Things happen to me, and I say yes. You can't say no. Don't build me a motorcycle. You say yes. A few weeks earlier than that, a friend of mine who is a sculptor said, you know, I'd like to make a motorcycle that could be in the Modern Museum of Art. How do you like that, Bill? I said, that's so good. I like that. So along with the sculptor and American Wrench, I put the three of us together. We started talking about building a rather fabulous motorcycle. Well, after a while, the sculptor got frightened by American Wrench and their practicality. So he left, but he left us with noble ambitions. So American Wrench decided to design a unique motorcycle. Here's what we're going to do, Bill. We're going to get a big and we'll put a 500 horsepower Cadillac engine in, and no kidding. Yeah, we're going to sell them, and you'll build and we'll go and we'll have, and that sounds like fun. You know what I'll do? I'll drive that motorcycle from Chicago to Los Angeles. What? Yeah, I mean, how far? I drive motorcycles I drive 100 miles in a day sometimes. Yeah, but Bill, this is 2,800 miles. I know, so it's just 2,800 times more than the other. Somehow, I commit myself to driving a motorcycle from Chicago to Los Angeles in a brand new bike. And two people applauded the idea. And so, in my usual enthusiasm, I go on Mancow's show here. I arrive here. The bike's not yet ready, but we're all set to go. And I get on the Mancow show and I announce, I'm driving, and the 150 people in the press pick it up, and we're debuting it on Monday. It's now Saturday. Yes, Monday we're going, and we're coming, and I haven't seen the bike yet. Bike's not quite finished. Be finished on Monday morning. Well, it's not quite finished at 7 o'clock in the morning. It'll be finished at 9. Well, it's 11 o'clock and 150 people are waiting to debut the bike, and here it comes. It's never been ridden before. And we introduce it, and we lift the tent, and there is this incredible modern motorcycle with a 500 horsepower Cadillac engine in it. And I've never been in it. and I'm gonna drive it 2,800 miles. With my wife behind me, and there's no seat. There's no screen in front. The controls are marked with felt pen, switch, on, off, and a very exotic steering mechanism. I start the bike. Oh, the night before, we're driving along. I see a psychic sign, and I'm shooting a documentary on it. So I've got cameras. Let's go into the psychic and see what she says about the bike. So 5 of us pile in there. Elizabeth, my wife, and I, and 3 guys on camera, and we say, we're here, we want to fight, and she sits us around a table, and I say, ma'am, what I'd like to know, really more than anything else, is will the bike start? And she looks at me because she doesn't have any idea of what I'm talking about. She says, I think I see delayments. I see delayments. Delayments? What do you mean? No, it's going to start, but it's going to be delayed. I go, well, she's guessing, right? The next morning, finally I get on the bike, and I press the engine, and the engine starts. This incredible, deep-throated Cadillac engine starts, and I roll down the little slope where the stage was, and I can't stop the bike. Not only do the brakes not work, the steering doesn't work. The last thing I heard was, stop, Bill, stop! And I was able to stop the bike. How? So we had the American Legion as part of what we were doing. What we had involved ourselves in was me driving this bike from the beginning of '66. There's a restaurant, you know the restaurant in town? Yep. That starts Route 66, yep. And Route 66 goes all the way to LA. Are you aware of that? Yep. Nod your heads. Yes. Yeah. So there's a restaurant, the famous restaurant, which we went to start the whole thing off. I did an interview at the beginning of Route 66 where everything started. All the migration out of Chicago going west started on Route 66. So I was going to do Route 66 with this modern bike where I had, I don't know, 15, 20 cameras because I was going to shoot a documentary on riding across the United States on a bike that doesn't work. And raise funds for the American Legion Scholarship Fund so that the kids of fallen soldiers, the children of soldiers who had died in battle would get a scholarship. That was the idea of the fund. So we were raising funds for American Legion. I was shooting a documentary and I was driving 500 miles a day. I was busy. The bike doesn't work. What are we going to do? We retired to a boardroom and discuss what are we going to do. And finally we decide what we'll do is we'll rent a bike from Harley Davidson and drive the Harley. Why did she clap on Harley Davidson? Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson. Yeah. And that's what we did. We shipped the bike and exposed it at every American Legion post that we went to. Here's the bike, we're working on it. We had 2 mechanics working on it as we went along, stopping at all the posts, stopping for gasoline, stopping to shoot the documentary, driving 500 miles, trying to avoid the weather, and it was horrendous. The heat in the desert was so hot, when we got to the desert, you couldn't touch the metal. You seared, you singed your skin. I fainted. I went to a Harley Davidson shop in Las Vegas. Air conditioning was like 120 in the desert. Got into the air conditioning. I almost fainted, and we were dying. People, Vietnam veterans were falling off their bikes. It was so hot. I mean, it was, and I had all these cameras going, and it was massive. It was awful. Things happened. I didn't want to wear a helmet because it was so hot, so I wore a baseball hat tied down. But it's against the law. You're supposed to wear a helmet in a lot of places. So I had a guy who had been a policeman driving with me anyway. I mean, he was one of the gang. So I said, arrest me. So he arrested me for not wearing a helmet, so I got out of that. We were in Nevada going into California, and I called the California CHP, the Highway Patrol, at a town just at the beginning of a long pass down into California. I said, I'm coming with like 15 motorcycles. I'm not wearing a helmet. Arrest me. And they said, we have a film unit. Do you have one? These cops had a film company. I mean, it was bizarre. Anyway, we ended up, and that was my trip from Chicago to Los Angeles.
He's 91 out there, again.
And that was like out of a sense of adventure. And I know I was in the news for a while there about a sense of adventure. I was invited. Well, actually, I wasn't invited to go up into space. I tried to make it happen. A friend of mine, I did a series called Better Late Than Never, in which I traveled around the world. Yeah, it was great fun. And that was a sense of adventure, especially with Terry Bradshaw. That was a big adventure. And that sense of excitement has always been with me. I've tried to get a thrill out of life, I guess. And so the producer of the Better Late Than Never, whose name is isn't that awful? His name, yeah, he'll come to me in a second. And he said to me a couple of years ago, you know, Blue Origin is sending a rocket into space. And why don't we send you up? You're going to send me up. You want to send me up into space? Yeah, no, it'll be a great adventure. You know, I said, you know, that's possible. So we called Seattle and introduced ourselves to Blue Origin and Jeff Bezos, and we went up to Seattle. And we said, you know, Shatner going up into space and all. Yeah, it's a great idea. So we left, and they were entertaining the idea. Then COVID hit, and a year went by, and nothing happened. And then we heard that Jeff Bezos was inviting, on the first trip, he was inviting his brother to go with him, and a young kid, and an astronaut lady who never went up was going to go up with him. So he had 4 people. So I said to Jason Ehrlich, it's there, it's just the retriever. The retrieval is bad. So Jason Ehrlich, wonderful, imaginative young man. So I said, you see, Jason, it didn't work. Nobody's interested. I'm not going to go. He said, well, they're going to send up a second vehicle. I'm not going to go up second. That's like getting the vice president when you're looking for Biden. No, he said, but it's good. No, I'm not going to go. It's too much trouble on the thing. Then I lay in bed one night and I was thinking, you know, the thrill of going into space, the thrill of it, why not? So what? Nobody notices. Who cares? It's for me. So we call them and say, yeah, I'll go. And they invite me. And then they invite me. Let me just backtrack because there's some wonderful stuff here. So while this is all going on, I make an album called Bill about adventures, songs and music. and part of the dialogue is there's music everywhere, and music can take the form of any kind, including the kind of music I make. And it's music. Music is our life. So we write a series of songs, and the album is called Bill, and it got incredible notices, breathtaking notices, the words they used for Bill. But in our enthusiasm, Jeff, Rob, and Dan, and I, the three of us who were writing the songs, in our enthusiasm, we wrote many more songs than the 13 that we ultimately used. So that there was like 20 songs that we had written about adventures, about the thrill of doing these things. And again, the universe looking after me. I've been asked to entertain at the Kennedy Center on Earth Day, the week after Earth Day, and 6 of our songs are about Earth Day, including going up into space and seeing the little blue dot of the planet. So, I meet with the 2 guys in New York just prior to going to the desert to go to the Blue Origin shoot. They've asked me to come to the desert a day early. And I'm there on a Sunday night with my little team of writers writing, we should write a song about space. So we sit around the dining room table that night before I leave, writing about what it's going to be like. Then on the Monday morning, I go to the desert, and I'm there a day early in the desert with a group of people. Now, why am I here? Nobody else is here until Tuesday. Well, Bill, just thought you might like to see. But after breakfast, let's drive out to the gantry, which is 20 miles out there. Okay, let's go see a gantry. So we go out to the gantry. The desert is 4,000 feet, almost 5,000, almost like the altitude of Denver. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever flown into Denver at that airport. When you get off that airplane in Denver, you're already breathless, okay, because of the altitude. This is 4,000 feet. They drive you to the gantry, and it's 11 flights up the bloody gantry. And I'm thinking, why have they got me here so early? And as I'm walking up these 11 flights sucking in air, I realize this is a test. They're going to see if the old guy can make it up 11 flights of stairs. And I'm sucking in wind, and I don't want to look like, I want to be Captain Kirk. So every 3 flights, I stop and I go, oh my God, look at the view. Yeah. I finally get up there at the top, and I'm looking around, and I still haven't quite figured out why I'm there. And they point out, why am I? Well, we want you to see you see that building right over there? There's a big cement building, about 30, 40 feet square. Yeah, what's it doing there? Well, it's got foot-thick cement walls. Yeah, and then it's got an airtight door. You see the airtight door? You see inside there are all kinds of air tanks, and there's radio communication down below. And what's it for? Oh, it's an escape room. An escape room? What are we escaping from? And then I realized what we're escaping from. I don't know the constituents of this audience, but I was brought up on a documentary about the Zeppelin, about the Hindenburg. Do you recall the Hindenburg footage of it burning in New Jersey?
I do.
Eh?
It looks suspect.
You know what's burning? Gas.
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas was in the Zeppelin. And when it landed, they moored it. And static electricity went up the mooring line and caught fire to some hydrogen way at the end, and the whole 300-foot airplane, lighter than airplane, burned up with people running from exploding hydrogen gas. You know what they're putting in the tank of the rocket? I'm going to go in. Hydrogen.
Yep.
So
That was brave. Though.
my nights were filled with views of the Hindenburg murder. And another thing they never talked about. Now we all remember the O-ring thing, right?
Right.
Well, the O-ring thing was the material, rubber or whatever it was a seal for the two parts of the rocket.
It's the wings.
And at a certain temperature, like about 32 degrees, it doesn't work well. And there was a lot of commotion among the engineers as to whether to send that rocket up or not, because it was hovering right around the margin of where it would work and where it wouldn't work. So there was this discourse about it'll work, it won't work, it'll work, it won't work, and they sent it up and it exploded. And everybody died. And you know why they died? Human error. They send the Hubble telescope up into space.
Breakaway point.
Billions
Damage.
of dollars.
The wings.
It doesn't work at the beginning. You know why? The English used imperial measurements. Americans used what we use, and they never spoke to each other. So when they got it up there, there was this split between two different kinds of measurements. Human error! And I'm going up. And in fact, I'm lying back in the seat like this, wondering if the Hindenburg's going to visit me. And the guy says that T-minus 17, T-minus. Hold on, hold, there's an anomaly. I don't like the word anomaly. I immediately looked it up. What's anomaly?
He's good.
Anomaly means you don't want something strange has entered the system. Either your digestion or the Hindenburg. Well, we got past the anomaly, and then we got into weightlessness and weightlessness. You know, I read a lot, and the weirdest things I read, and I'd love to tell you about them as time goes on. Not today necessarily, but you know, things have to do with our interconnectedness and our entwining. But what I saw in space was so remarkable that this performance in Kennedy Center, the diadem of the numbers, of the 6 numbers, the really core number is called "So Fragile, So Blue," is the name of the big song, 70-piece orchestra, and me performing it. And it's about the vulnerability of our world. It's about how precious everything is. We're in a bloody war now. There's a war going on in Ukraine. There can't be a war. We're approaching the end of the world. The war is global warming. The war is stop global warming. Everything, all our energies, all our attention should be on the future of the world. Scientists are working like mad to try and find ways of stopping global warming, of absorbing carbon dioxide and methane and all the pollutants that you hear about, the pollutants in the sky
in space
and in the ocean.
to block the sunlight.
What mankind has to be doing is fighting this war against the end of the world, and we're destructing. It's absurd. So the song is about the vulnerability of our world. And I love, as I read along about how interconnected everything is, I read examples that bring tears to my eyes. It's so magical. Let me tell you one of this weird interconnectedness of the earth and why its destruction is beyond anything that we can imagine. In the African desert, there are termites. Termites eat the debris, the wood, remanufacture it, and in the process, they settle in certain parts of the earth. They find certain kinds of earth, a clay, and they masticate, they chew it, and they build mounds, maybe 6 feet high. They're complex mounds where these termites live. They've got holes in them, and the termites, using their wings, aerate the holes so there's air conditioning for the young. So these turrets arise out of the flatland in Africa. And they're there. They're made of clay. Now, along comes, so the termites are like among the smallest things in the world. Along comes the biggest thing in the world, an elephant. Now, an elephant has an itchy behind, all right? And it's out in the flats and can't scratch its ass. So it finds a mound and rubs the mound, okay? And it gets a lot of pleasure out of rubbing that mound. And wears the mound down. The mound then crumbles. Now it's just clay, but chewed up clay. And the elephant walks around it a little bit, and then sometime later the rains come and forms a little puddle, and then the elephants come back and they see a little puddle with clay, and that helps them with insects, so they spray and they wallow over, and over the years they make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and finally becomes a watering hole. And then because of nature, watering holes, alligators come, and elephants, other animals come, and fish come, and suddenly it's a viable, livable space because a insect built a thing, and an animal came and rubbed its behind. That's how interconnected the whole damn thing is. It's unbelievable. Slime, I'm reading about slime. Listen to this one. This is a new one. So, slime, basic one cell, there's no intelligence, there's no brain in slime. It's slime. So, some scientists were in an IKEA store in Sweden. This is bizarre. So they can't get out of the IKEA store because the thing is too complex. They've made it so complex that you get into the store, you can't get out. It's like a maze. Yep. So a scientist, a biologist was in there, and he said, I'm going to, and he made a replica of the IKEA store. And he put slime in order to let the slime find a way out of the IKEA store. And the slime solved the problem as quickly as the human beings did. That's what we're facing in nature. The beauty, the incredible complexity of this world is so beautiful. It's so challenging. It's so imaginative. It's 5 billion years of evolution has evolved us and our appreciation. Anyway, you know where I'm going with that. This is what we're destroying, and we can't. One more thing along those lines, and then I'll take what time there is for questions. So, I was asked by Bezos to go to a symposium of scientists, about as many people there as are here today. and spoke, you know, a little bit. And then they played, we did a documentary of me, of us in the spaceship coming down, and my saying something like the words I've just said. And apparently, and I was in the throes of this deep, deep emotion, so I didn't quite know what I was saying, thank God. And I said something like, I don't want to ever forget this feeling of identification. And I was weeping, and I didn't understand why I was crying for hours afterwards. And then I realized afterwards I was crying out of grief for the world. And I happen to mention that. My sadness is for the world. Then I made another observation a little later on, like as each of these thoughts came to me, which was, the earth is a grain of sand in the Sahara Desert. We're nothing. We're whole galaxies come together and go through each other, and the space is so wide they never touch each other. Apparently, the Milky Way galaxy at the very tail end, at some point, eons ago, got touched. But whole galaxies go through each other, and the space is so large, the stars don't touch each other. That's how big it is. And we are this mote of dust floating around in nowhere. We're nothing, the Earth. And then we're these little tiny entities on a nowhere dust. How small is that? And yet, we can observe ourselves being nothing. We realize we have the consciousness of the awe and wonder of what's out there, what's in here, and what we are. What an incredible gift, difference that makes. And then one more layer. So I'm in front of this large group of scientists a few weeks ago, and they're playing the film. And then I see something I'd never seen before on that documentary. I say, just what I said, we have the powers of observation to stand in awe and wonder at our world and the universe. And Jeff Bezos holds me in his arms. And I saw it for the first time, that not only are we aware, but we have pathos, we have empathy, we have love. That's the next layer. We humans, among other animals of course, have love. All those complexities are there for us to see. And that was my message.
Film me when I'm up there.
Okay. What am I doing now? Do I have a question?
Oh, can I stand?
Is there a microphone set up there? Oh, way over there. Why is it way over there? Nice and loudly, because right deep, loud into that microphone. Spit. I said spit, I didn't mean spit.
Good, Princess.
No, that's perfect. We can hear you.
Okay. I'm Marty from Nashville.
Marty!
Hey! This is more of a request than a question, but for those who may not have seen it, let's hear more about Bradshaw and you and the fermented herring.
From the exalted to the dirty. So, Terry Bradshaw has 4 rings. He's like one of the great athletes to have come along. Some of these guys, some of these young guys going to, well, born that way, but going to college are such elite athletes. Everything about their conformation, their brains, the way their timing, their hand-eye coordination. They're superior beings physically. I don't know whether Terry's a superior being mentally. He's very bright. And we had a lot of fun together. So the whole idea of traveling with those 4 guys was to ad-lib a show, have fun, have some activity that would amuse all of us and ad-lib the scene, and make the scene entertaining. So this guy, Jason Ehrlich, said, we were in Sweden, and he said, you know, the Swedish national, the great dish for Sweden is fermented fish. Just like we would eat Limburger cheese. I don't know whether any of you can get past the smell of those great cheeses, but the cheeses don't taste the way they smell. They're bubbly, they're alive. It's like wine. They're really delicious if you acquire the taste, a great cheese or a great wine. So apparently, that's the way they feel about fermented fish. So the fermented fish are kept in cans, and those of you who deal with food a lot would know that when a can begins to expand, you know it's time to get rid of it. The food inside has gone bad. It's probably fermenting. So the Swedes ferment this fish, they can it, and the cans begin to swell. And at a certain point, they got to open the can. Now, Ehrlich hands me a can of fermented fish. The 4 of us are sitting around a table and chairs, and there's like 6 cameras, like camera here, camera here, camera. And the frame of each camera is right side by side. Some are shooting close-up, some are shooting wide shots, some are shooting the can. And this camera here is catching somebody, and the camera beside it is catching somebody else, but the edge of that camera also caught the cameraman. The edge of the frame caught the cameraman, which is important because somebody had to open the can. And it turned out to be me. It turned out they usually open it underwater so the gases don't explode all over everybody. But Ehrlich failed to tell us that. So I opened the can explodes. Now, I did a police show years ago, and I got to meet a lot of these old bull detectives. I mean, they had dead bodies. They were examining murders, many murders a day. They'd hold a handkerchief up to their nose because the decaying body smelled bad. Nothing approached the smell of that fish and those dead bodies, okay? So it's so bad that when the can opens up and the gas exudes, this cameraman can be seen on this camera, projectile vomiting. That's how bad it was. Now, I had spent weeks playing with Terry Bradshaw, jousting and singing, playing around, kidding each other, trying to make jokes on each other. I picked up a piece of the fish, and he looked at me, and I looked at him. And he
I've got one on global warming.
And he got up and he started running that way. And I got up and ran after him. Now even in our old age, he is fast. And I'm running and I'm losing ground, and he cuts to his left and comes out of his shoes. I've got one on global warming. What? I've got one on global warming. And falls to the ground.
Wait, no, he was just,
And I jump on him, and I rub fermented fish all over his bald pate. And he said later, the worst thing that ever happened to him was Shatner running me down.
I don't think we're going to have time to ask everybody.
What?
Oh, thanks.
Did you just fart? You spit. Gentleman in white.
Captain Kirk from Iowa, or Alex from Seattle, in character. I've been watching on Blu-ray the Twilight Zone complete series, the original, and I'm like on like season 4. Anyways, it's another great 60s show, and I watched the episode that you were on where you played the newlywed and go to the diner with a fortune.
Oh, this has an ending to it.
So I just wanted to hear your experience of working on another great 60s show, the Twilight Zone, and if you thought it interacted with Ross Serling at all.
60 show, that's 60 years ago, right? I can't remember what I had for breakfast. They were classic shows. Why they remain popular, I really don't know. It seems to have connected. I did 2 of them that remained popular through the years. I think it seems to have connected with a general fear, like of flying or not being able to get out of town. But there is in us that little unruly child who never grows up and is filled with love and fear and all kinds of emotion. And I think those shows connect with the child within us. Thank you so much, everybody.
Everyone, we didn't get there. 2 away. No time travel technology for you, Will Shatner. Inflatables in space, everyone. Giant reflective inflatables. Good save. 2 away, Becky. They should just give out numbers. So YouTube just coming out of the William Shatner panel. Definitely captured all of that. I got up on stage beforehand. I was 2 away from asking a question. Unfortunately, I didn't get to ask Bill a couple of questions. My question would have been about what about using giant reflective inflatables in space to block some of the sunlight, and that may help with global warming. It just seems like a no-brainer to me, but I'm not a ruling elite, so what do I know?